Just like that? Yeah. Nice. That's it.
Hi, it's Shimelle, and today I have a new project for the Paige Evans cut file design team. I'm going to be using this cut file that says Best Friends Forever, and released these two papers from Bloom Street, a white multicolored stripe and a yellow ombre floral, with these three photos. And I started with a different page in mind. So I made this recently, and I liked the fact that this BFF's title, which is also one of Paige's cut files, really started to bring out a theme that I could tell with stories over the years. Because if you ask Wonder Boy, you know, how would you describe you and me? He says we are BFFs. Best friends forever. So I really like the idea of having this become an ongoing motif throughout my albums, that every trip or every season gets some sort of page that has that BFF notation with a picture of the main mouse himself. Yeah, so today I'm going to start with this background, which is going to become my page background, and some gesso, because I want to put some paint on top of this, which I've not shown here. So I'm just going to open up a nice fresh pot. Okay, plain clear gesso going on to that background. I'm just going to give it a few little blobs. Technical, artistic term, blobs. And then you can see that goes away completely. But this particular paper is from the pattern paper pad, the single-sided papers that come in the paper pad. So I want to add a little bit of body to the paper so that I can add some faded paint to this. So put a little bit at the top, a little bit at the bottom, because I know what I've just added right there is mostly going to be covered by the cut file, so I need to take it right the way out. This always feels a little bit like covering my page in Elmer's glue in school, but I was not this handy with the Elmer's glue. I didn't do cool watercolor stuff with it. Okay. Now you'll notice there is a bit of warp. Warp paper doesn't actually bother me because I just smush it. And once it's in a page protector and everything, it's fine. It does not bother me. But if it does bother you, then you know, there are other papers that might be a better choice. While that dries, I'm going to back my cut file, and I've got these two smaller black and white prints that I'm going to put inside the letters, and then my yellow paper. And I just wanted to show you this before I trimmed them so that you could see how big this is. So this is the selfie 4x6 paper, so the little end pieces don't print. So this is a 4x6, and this is two 3x4s, but then printed with borders, so they're not 3x4 anymore. So I do this by putting two into one 4x6 in the Project Life app, and then printing it with borders as the selfie printing option, and it gives you quite a chunky border. So that's then taking it down so that I can get some cute little faces in that D and that O. There we go. Now I need a pencil. I think actually I'm going to do this. Yeah, this one's going to be the D and the other one's going to be the O. There we go. Right. And because it's a photo and I don't want the pencil lines to show, I am going to trace the outside and then cut inside my line, which is mostly just a dent that I'm needing to look at an angle so that I can see where it is. Okay, let's see how good a fit that will be. Oh, I think I did it a bit too big still. Oh, but just down here. Okay, just take a little bit off here. Let's try that. Right there. Almost. The tiniest bit more. There we go. Okay, so then glue on the back here. There we go. Same thing with the O. Now that this is dry, my gessoed paper, I'm just going to use my acrylic block and some orange ink. This is an old dye ink from the Jenny Bolin Ranger collection, which I've had for years, and they don't make it anymore, but I still like it. But you just need a dye ink. It could be distress, it could be anything else that you like. And some cling film. Some of this, and some water, and a brush. So I've got my brush that I used before. I'm adding water to this. So that now I have a little pool. You can use a craft sheet for this too, of course. But if I'm only going to be doing one color, I only need a little bit, then it works to just use my acrylic block. And know that that splat is not a problem. Now, I know that my cut file is going to sit here, so I want this to come up and fade into the background. It's going to be quite haphazard and random, and that is fine. Not worried about the middle, because that's all going to be covered up essentially. And then I can just stamp again when this is all soaked up. Put more ink down, add more water, keep going. This brush, mix it up there. Okay, back onto the cling film. And at this stage, it doesn't matter, you know, what it looks like. It's always going to look mad. It's going to look very much like, oh, that's not going to work. But you're going to be piling stuff on top of it. I'm going to be piling stuff on top of it. So it ends up looking different than this. Now, I wasn't worried about those because I'm going to add more of them. So, one last time, ink. And some water. And then flicking some of this onto here to get those droplets. Just around the edges so that there's a different texture. And you could do the droplets in a second color. Okay. And then I clean this up. I let this dry while I finish backing the title because I've done the photos but I haven't done the paper bit. So I need to let that dry and bring this back out. So this is the paper I'm going to use to back this. And you can see how there's an ombre to this with the lighter edge at the top, darker edge at the bottom. So I want my bottom row sitting right down here at the bottom, which means I can turn it over. This is paper 14, by the way, and line up my corners here Then I just trace and cut. All stuck down, moment of truth. And there's my yellow with the two photos. So I'm going to take this on my background, which I've left to dry and crumpled down. And I'm not going to stick this yet because I want to add some stamping. I'm going to use these stamps from Bloom Street. And in case you thought there was some strange reason why I used the ink here instead of something like watercolor paint, well, it's because then I can use that same ink pad to stamp on here and it will coordinate perfectly. So I'm going to use the florals in this same orange. I haven't used this set, so I'm going to give them just a little rub with an eraser, which makes them stamp a nice clear impression. Okay, and then I'm going to play this little game of have a look at where things are so that I can get the placement. For example, I want to bring this floral right down here, and then I'll take that away, take this away to stamp it there. Yeah. Now, if you have a MISTI or another stamp positioning system that might do a similar thing, then you can use that really well because you would literally put the stamp down where you want it, even just uninked, and close it, pick this up, move this out of the way, and then when you stamp it, it'll be in exactly the same place. And I do love my MISTI, but while I am in this temporary space, it is boxed up and I only have bare minimum in terms of tools. So I'm going to do it the low-tech way of looking and getting it the idea of where it should be and then pulling that away to stamp underneath. And this sort of stamping where you're using the same color on top of the washed background is really forgiving because there's no there's very little contrast in the color. The colors are the same, it's just a little bit different amount of saturation where it's not watered down here, and putting it onto a stamp means it's going to be a little darker, but it's tone on tone. Right, and then I'm going to go right up at the top where that curve around the S is. So I've just used the stamp and how it has a curve to the design to follow the curves of the letters. So I've got this curve of the S, this curve of the O, this curve of the R. And then bring in the other floral that's here. Same thing. This one is going to go into this open space over here because there's going to be a photo and a journaling card here, so this is going to pop out from the side. Most of it will be covered up, but there'll be a little bit over there. And I want something down here in this space, just in case what I am going to add in here doesn't cover that spot. I don't have any color here, so just in case. Now this one might get entirely covered up, but it's going to be a lot easier for me to just stamp that once now and not worry about it than to have trouble with it later. And I think I'm going to double up here. Like that. Okay, and now I am ready to stick down this is go ahead and add adhesive to get that all in the right spot. Come back to look at where those curves were in the letters, and that's what I'm following here. Make sure it's not too wonky. There we go. And then, right, my photo. So the photo's going to go up here with a journaling box. And everything so far is, I mean, Bloom Street is a very pastel collection. So there's a lot of washed out color here with the white background and then the pale orange. So even though I'm using the brightest shades of those colors in the collection, it is a little bit pale in general. So I want to bring in some saturated, darker color. So this going behind the photo, and then this is going to get tucked in up here. Yep, that one that I put down here is gone, but that's okay. Now also you'll notice in here, remember I didn't add the orange in the middle, so you can see it here. I actually kind of prefer there being some lightness in here. I think if it had been all orange this much, it would have got a bit heavy in the middle. Now here's what I want to do. So this part over to the left is going to go behind, but here is going to go over the top of the S so that this is just nestled down into that corner. And then a journaling box from the Bloom Street Cut Apart, and that's going to be tucked over there. And some flowers. These are from the Bloom Street Floral Ephemera Pack, and I wanted to bring them in where I have stamped pieces. I'm going to start, and I want a flower here instead of a butterfly, I think. Right, so this one I think down here at the bottom maybe, or is this one going to be too big for that space? Maybe this one goes up here then. Yeah, that one's going to go up at the top then. Put these individual blossoms. So that one's already built in the die cut pack. But then there are individual blossoms so that you can build into what curves you have or what space you have. So looking to see if that could come out over the top, but there's not room on that side. Ah, here. Can do it that way. Same can happen over here. And then I can bring in some leafy greenery type bits as well. This is that ephemera pack. Some blue leaves that'll be useful because this has blue, but I could add in green too. Okay. Oops. Okay. This one I think is the right shape to fit in this space down here. I need something that's going to be basically horizontal to fit down here. That'll work there. This one, yeah, so it'll connect this die cut to that little bit of stamping that's peeking out the edge. I'm running that underneath. There we go. I've got two of those leaves, so I'm going to put one in each grouping. One's going to go under here. we go. Right, done with those, I think. And a little bit more of the navy to come around if I can find a good spot for it, because I've got that tiny version of that beautiful 12 by 12 paper with a big love. But I am going to run out of room for things quite quickly, and I don't have a, you know, if I put it right here, there's not contrast of here because that's navy, this is navy. It kind of loses its impact. I think running a little border up here is probably too much. I'd need a bigger gap in order for that to be a viable design choice. So maybe I need to save this for another day. It's too big to just overlap it onto something here. You wouldn't be able to read the words, and we don't want that. The words are important here. Okay, so I will keep that for another time, but that is in the little 2x2 phrases booklet for Bloom Street, if you'd like it as a design but want it in something smaller. Okay. So I'm getting very near to being done now. I'm just going to add some thickers up here. So that I know which park this was from. I tried to put something somewhere on each page to know which park it was from, that sort of thing. Journaling's going to go on here, and then little finishing touches over the top. Journaling's in place there, and I'm ready for my finishing touches, which are going to come from the Bloom Street sticker book, these Bloom Street enamel hearts, and then also these puffy stickers from Truly Grateful, because they have these little just plain little circles in the mix, and I love these for adding just a little bit more concentrated color to collections that have Bloom Street but really saturated color in the photos. So yeah, that's where I'm going. Right, now also, good to know if you love color in the Bloom Street sticker book, all these extra colors here. So would I like to bring in a little bit of red because it's a Mickey page? Yes, yes, yes I would. So I'm going to do that by taking this sticker and using it as a bit of washi. I want that in 3 spots. I'm just figuring out, do I want to keep it here? We'll bring it down to the bottom. I kind of want to bring it further down, so let's see if I tuck it in with those flowers. I think that will work. Okay, so I've got little red spots there. And then let's bring the yellow hearts near those little strips. And I think even near the photo I'll use this. I have one of the red hearts left, so let's bring that right there. Sometimes the photo needs a little special treatment, so it can have the extra one. And then some little colorful hearts here. So I've got this yellow heart. That would make that a little triangle of hearts. And maybe this darker pink because I have the pale pink in this flower. With one more heart down here to balance. So I've got there, so I want one over here. I think the blue that appears here, and come over to this side. There we go. Little triangle of hearts there. And this little one that says sunshine, which I'm going to have point to the photo that's inside the letter O. Right in the top of the F. Yeah. Repeat that here, I think. Yeah. This one says Dreamer. Those fit really nicely inside the bars of those letters. I like that. There's also more flower stickers if you need anything to kind of fill in and balance. I'm kind of looking for maybe something to extend here, and I could add more leaf die cuts there. That could be one answer, or I could add a floral sticker. Let's have a look. Oh, maybe I could bring those little berries in over here too. Let's do that. Oh, and this one isn't actually stuck. That would help. Bonus points if you spotted that as I did it and were sitting there going, Shimelle, you haven't glued that. You really haven't glued it. There we go. Okay, then, last little thing. So then, see I have all this darker color that's up here, and I can take these little puffy circles from Truly Grateful. Everything's lifting a little bit over here, so I'm just going to glue that down. There we go. And I can bring those circles down to this corner. It's a little bit of red. Actually, I suppose I have red on this side with the tape, so let's bring the red onto that side. Okay, so I have the saturated red, the saturated blue down here, and then I can put it up here. Don't have another blue one, but I have the red and the orange. Do I want both of those here? Or where I've got this, that might be not the best spot. Let's add them in here. I think that's a bit better. There we go. Right. And that's where I'm going to finish this one. Now there are lots of ways that you could adapt this. You could leave off the mixed media background and still just have a clear sheet of the pattern paper in the background, and then add these pieces like the cut file, the die cuts and the stickers with your photo and your journaling over the top. And then you wouldn't have the inky background if the inky background has just made you go, no, I would much rather prefer it clean. So now you can see it that way and see if you prefer it with or without. And if you love inky backgrounds and you think this one actually is quite simple, you could bring in the other colors. And instead of trying to bring in the colors to the embellishment by using things like the red tape and the blue dots, you could bring those colors in with your watercolor and create whatever color scheme you want in the background and then put the lettering on top of it. Thank you so much for watching this, and thanks to Paige for letting me use all of the supplies and cut files, and I will see you soon. Happy scrapping!